today's City of Erie Historic Review Commission meeting. Today's Monday, September 9th. It's going so quickly here. We'll have the roll call first. Jean Craig Pepper is not here. Dave Brennan's here. Mark Tannenbaum? Here. Linda Meyer?
Here.
And Matthew Falcone?
Here.
And Jason Wazorek is on.
I'm online.
And Jackie Spry is in the audience. Hi. And of course Heather Olson is here. Yep. Okay, she may be here like that.
And I do acknowledge she reached out to me with a phone call. I do acknowledge that she's down, so I'll update the HRC on that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, the first item we have is public comment. Do we want to have the public comment first? And we have a speaker coming to the...
Hi, Kathy Schaff. I just wanted to say thank you to each and every single one of you. I, am so grateful that you are committed as a volunteer group to work on these buildings and make sure that they last for centuries. And it's really, places do matter, buildings do matter. And I was talking with Matthew not too long ago, and I was thinking of ways that we could come up with more. And there's so many old churches, old schools, so much out there yet to be designated as a historic building. So thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for being here. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of resources, and that's what we're here to try to do, is protect those resources and inform the public. Any other public comment? I think that's it. Let's go to approval of past meeting minutes. Did everyone get a chance to review the meeting minutes from last month? Any questions or issues with the meeting minutes? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Mark Tannenbaum. And do we have a second? Second? I'll second. I'll second the meeting minutes. Okay. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Not hearing none. The meeting minutes pass.
And I'll, having been absent, I'll abstain.
I'm sorry?
So, having been absent from last meeting, I abstain from the vote.
Okay, one abstain, okay. But meeting minutes pass. Okay. Let's go to old business. The first item we have is the comments, HRC Commissioner comments on the Article 7 of the zoning ordinance for city review. I know a lot of people have submitted their comments, suggestions already. Heather, I don't know if you want to discuss that at all, or is there something further to discuss, or have you received most of our comments? Which ones?
So Dave, I don't think I've received any new or additional comments since the ones collected in late July, early August, late July. But if any commissioners, whether present or not physically here today, want to submit comments regarding the Historic Resources Protection Section 7 of the zoning ordinance, now would be the time to do that. It was like by today's meeting, so. Okay.
Yes, so any more comments or discussion, please forward that to Heather. Next item on the agenda, B, is just a reminder for the training session that's this Friday, right? 13th is Friday at noon. And everyone's received the notification for the meeting online? Okay. So is there anything to discuss about that meeting? Is there any questions Because it's all going to be held on Teams, so there should be no issues with gathering or anything. Any
So-
questions, comments?
I have it on my task list of things to do tomorrow to ask for the link from the NEPC. So I will do that. So watch for the email from me. I'll send
Okay.
it.
So that was
to
just a
the group.
calendar invite that we had to get on our calendars?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And so there will be a formal link provided by the Preservation Alliance Commission. So
Okay.
yeah. So just watch for an email from me to the group for that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that training session. I can't wait to hear what they have to say, and there's just so much out there that we could learn more about, so I'm looking forward to that. Next on the agenda is the update of the citywide historic resources survey process. Heather, will you be giving an update on that, or?
I can.
Okay.
I looked over at Jackie too to see if she has anything to add, but I can give the update on the survey. So Jackie and I have both been busy as staff members for the city regarding the citywide historic resources survey. EDR is in the process of the development of a website. I think I've had 2 or 3 direct meetings with the main contact for the phase 1 portion of the project, and she's well on her way to developing the story map. We've talked about kind of like the design and the feel of it, borrowing a lot from what was already set in the historic preservation plan from March of this year. So the graphics and the look will kind of have a little bit of a connection there. The colors will be a little bit different for the story map component, the website, and the marketing materials. We do envision that there will be some banners, flyers, posters ready definitely within the next month, probably the next few weeks. I saw the first launch of the story map this morning, so I gave round 1 comments on that. When I get her next revisions back, I'll send those to the HRC for any input. So we talked about a time frame with the whole team from EDR as far as like when the beginning portions of the historic resource research would be for phase 2 and A, when those would be starting. And they're in touch with Hagen already. They're in touch with a lot of the different groups. Neighborhood Resources, Liz Reyes out of our office has been working very closely with us to develop a cohesive list in the city of neighborhood groups, nonprofits, various public and private partners that would intrinsically have an interest in our process. And so the consultant already has that list. So let's see, it's hard to summarize all of it. We've been in touch with the state, gone through kind of that initial overview of like the training as far as the survey uploads and what their expectations are. So just kind of wanted to give an overview of that. So if commissioners have any input on the survey itself or the story map or the website, as those get sent out, please send back that feedback quickly as you can so that the consultant can incorporate that.
And you said there's going to be a website for that?
There will be.
Okay, once the city's website gets together, or sooner?
It will be sooner since EDR is hosting it, and that was a part of their professional fee. So it will be its own link separate from the city, but we will be able to direct the public to it through the city website. So we'll definitely share that.
So the neighborhood groups, the website, those are all going to be the communication tools
Yeah.
to let people know what's going on with that then?
Yeah, and I think the story map, we have some interactive mapping components using GIS and aerial photographs. And we have, I think we've narrowed it down to a category of 10 different terms or groups or subject matters of pertaining to history and historic resources. I think we've narrowed it down to 10. So I'll be sending those out to the group to see if anyone has comments on that. I know that's a lot in a little bit of time.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on, so. Any other questions by any other member of the committee? Yeah, because the more notification, the better. I mean, some of these things, you hear about it, but someone doesn't hear about it because they're not on Facebook or whatever, or not of internet capability or something like that, so that's good.
I did share the one notification on my I did share that one notification on my Facebook page, and everybody seemed very positive about it, and I did get a fair amount of feedback on it, but the one actually constructive feedback was to make every effort to reach to, the public, to let them be aware and allow them to have input on whatever this is, which I said we were going to do. But I know how difficult that is to do, and that no matter how much outreach we do, there's still people that 80% of the people still won't know about it. And that's not really necessarily our fault. I think we can only do what we can do, but we should do everything we can do.
Yep, I agree.
And Jackie and I were also guests at the mayor's press conference a week and a half ago, and that was actually one of the topics that we discussed. So, that was good publicity and support, and so we will continue to build on that. And just note that phase 1 continues through November, December, and then on through the project. So there will be ongoing outreach, distribution of flyers, monthly or bi-monthly updating of those flyers at public places. And one of the suggestions that I had was that we locate flyers at least one location in each of the city's planning areas. So that would be at least, 17, plus City Hall, the public library, places like that. So we're kind of formulating that plan. So thank you for your feedback, Mark, especially on the city Facebook page and things like that to spread the word in different methods.
It's hard to do, and we've had that problem before. It is hard to do, and we have had that problem when we try to reach out to neighborhoods for things. It's just difficult to catch people's attention.
Good. The more the better, the more communication, the better. Okay, any other comments or questions about that? We'll move forward on the agenda. It's a pretty quick agenda today. The next item was the sign-up sheet and discussion for the proposed properties for the future historic preservation nomination. I know there have been several emails with this. I know I'd emailed a property in, and I think the idea was to have some ideas out there from the commission to present to the group, to work with an owner or work with a group, whoever would own the building, to see if they would like to, first of all, if their building is eligible, and then to get that building registered on the city's historic preservation website for nomination. So I don't know if there's any discussion there, Mark.
I have a suggestion on this, and I don't know if it's off base. Maybe Melinda can rein me in. I thought of the Niagara. I don't know if it's the kind of thing that we would include, but I would think to some degree, since it's permanently birthed here, that it is a historic landmark and an object. I know that they're having some difficult times with their organization, but I thought if it was named, it would allow them to present their case to the public for additional assistance, and perhaps some of the resources that we have could be applied in some small way to their project that I know is expensive.
Yeah.
But I think the Niagara, it's practically on the seal of the state. It's an important thing.
Yeah, definitely an important asset there.
But I would include the Niagara if that's possible.
And it's owned by the state.
So, true. And I didn't know then if that was the problem, but because it was permanently based here, and of course it's so integral to Erie history.
No, I think it's a great idea. It's owned by the state.
Correct.
The PHMC.
Maybe some of the funds, if we had any funds, could go to the way it's presented in the city. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there as an idea to consider that object as
Sure.
Erie historic.
So I have to apologize for meeting the meeting in August, because I know this is when this topic was first broached. In reading the minutes and kind of going over what transpired, I have a lot of reservations about us moving forward in this capacity, both because of the purview of the HRC and also because of language that's currently in our ordinance. It's really prescriptive, and it says, especially in terms of moving forward with prospective historic landmark nominations that are coming out of the HRC, that it needs to be the result of a kind of carefully constructed plan, a survey, that we're currently kind of engaged in. And I want to make sure that if we kind of are moving forward with this, that we're doing it in a way that's respectful to the language in our ordinance. And that's also within our purview. I can understand why I think we have such a kind of burning desire to move forward, because there are so many historic places in Erie. And very obviously, as I think Commissioner Tenenbaum said earlier, it's difficult to get the word out. I think that our role as an HRC and kind of as a quasi-judicial and very much government body is less on constructing a list and taking it upon ourselves as commissioners to do the work ourselves, and more working with the community and helping get the word out to encourage others to apply, and perhaps even helping shepherd them through the process. I know that when the plan was put together and ratified by council, really the intent was that the HRC itself wouldn't take on all of these responsibilities, but rather work in partnership with external organizations. And I think that there's a really good opportunity here to kind of move that dialogue a bit. So instead of having it directly on our plate as an HRC, to start working with some community organizations that would like to take this on, or some nonprofits that are dedicated to historic preservation. I think that's kind of the most appropriate avenue forward in really trying to generate interest in landmarks. I also, in thinking this through, wanted to try to put some perspective on kind of this process and how quickly it moves. I know that in Philadelphia, which is a substantially larger city, they usually have about a dozen landmarks a year, applications for landmarks. And in Pittsburgh, probably about half dozen is appropriate for a year. So I know that we're kind of behind the curve and when we've adopted this ordinance, but it's, I think, very important to think about what a realistic kind of expectation for us as a commission to be able to handle. And I know that there's kind of lots afoot as well in looking at our ordinance and clarifying the language. That's making it a bit clearer, I think, for us as individual commissioners to be directly involved in the process, as well as to help encourage a process. But I did want to kind of throw out a word of caution that I think that instead of kind of brainstorming, as it seems like we have been doing, of what is historic and who we can approach, that we might think of it in a different way of trying to encourage going through the survey process and then looking at different sites, or perhaps looking at putting together a list of community groups that we would like to then go out to now and have a conversation with. So instead of saying, looking at the Big Niagara, perhaps it's most appropriate for
Them
us
to come to us.
Yes.
Right. And that's why I wanted to see, but
conversation.
I was concerned that in fact I was overstepping our purview by bringing those up because of the structure of our organization and our bylaws.
Right. But I also don't want to, it seems like there's a lot of enthusiasm around this as well. So thinking through kind of what's appropriate for us and, what's appropriate for the staff to take on as well, who I know are more than inundated.
Have we contacted people that got the grants and asked them if they would like to? I would think that would be like a group of people that obviously are very interested in their homes and restoring them, et cetera, that maybe they would be the first people we would approach about their house and maybe their neighborhood. I think they would be very open to
That's a great suggestion.
talking to us.
Sure.
We're still working through those. I still have site inspections and conversations on site. I think
Well, my next door neighbor's one of them, and they're getting everything, it's very noisy over there right now. They have a lot going on.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
We have asked for project wrap-up, project summary, and project photos. I put together a document for that, like success stories from the HBIG. So that's something that I asked them to do prior to closing out. But I'll supplement that with that suggestion. And maybe to kind of tie all three comments together. So originally, I anticipated this as like a brainstorming exercise. And similar to what was mentioned over here, maybe recommending or recommending that the HRC commissioners act as extensions for conversations in the community, such that if an HBIG grant recipient would like to pursue local nomination, local designation, that they can reach out to Jean Craig as a resource, because she serves on the HRC and may be able to assist in answering questions on the application or where to go for research, that type of thing. And we do have a guest here today, Christina Caton from Erie Day School, and she'll be speaking here in a bit for a new potential nomination. And so the city staff is always available, but there is an end to our day and our week, and that's maybe where that balance and that kind of transition into working with neighborhood groups, and now that we have that cohesive list for the Citywide Historic Resources Survey, using that in more than just one way to kind of serve a few different purposes. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comments. Again, every comment that I serve is a great comment on how to approach this. But I do think maybe, stepping back and just kind of thinking about the approach. Because, I think it's great to talk about it, what's the most obvious choices, and also to really talk to different neighborhoods, and especially those of which we think there's some, possible historic resources, and have, inspire them to see if they would like to be interested. And again, my first thought when we started talking about this was that the ones that were already registered as on the National Register were kind of like the easy ones, and here's kind of the first suggestions. That's what I was kind of thinking of this as. But definitely, Matthew, as you were saying, to take a step back and say, how
what's the process?
What have we said so far? How we approach this, so we don't step on our own toes in a bit. So,
being program ambassadors is certainly key too. I know that I've had several conversations with individuals and community organizations and nonprofits about this very topic. That either didn't know that the program had started or are interested in pursuing, and there's kind of a demarcation line, where we're able as commissioners to kind of walk them through it and head them in the right direction, but ultimately then it's always being redirected back towards staff to kind of help them through what the process is, and to help talk about timeline and things like that too. And I hope it's not being too burdensome. But it's good to have that kind of communication so that we, yes, exactly that. And that if we're having conversations with our neighbors, with people who we know, that then, Heather and Jackie both know that they might have an inquiry coming, or there might be a lot of questions kind of forthcoming too. But I do like, Commissioner Pepper, your suggestion about kind of circling back to the work that we've already begun.
Yeah.
And that does
They have
absolutely seem like a
benefited
good
from
opening.
us already, so
Yeah.
they might be more willing to, or energized to help us, get the word out in their neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly that. And the familiarity is already there.
Right.
Would it be possible I'm like looking all around the room, but this is really to staff, I suppose. Is there a master list then of awardees, and would it be possible to maybe see see what that list looks like. I know I'm new
Yeah,
to the
you wouldn't
commission.
have had that.
Yeah.
Well, there was a map. We had a map of it,
Yes.
because I think we saw,
Once we get over the initial stages of the CHRS starting.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could
Thank you.
see that map again,
Yeah,
did you
we saw
share
that.
that map, Heather? And then also, if we have the addresses, then we could,
Right.
really have a good idea.
And there's some that might be more potentially qualifying than others, depending.
No, that's exactly it. I think that, building upon the work that we've already done seems to be a really logical step.
That was really smart.
Okay.
Put that down for October.
Any other comments or questions about it? I think
I
we
just
have a lot
had a
of great
question. I'm
ideas.
sorry I was late, but where are we on the agenda? Which item?
We're just finishing up the old business on, 4E?
Okay.
Yeah, it was fairly quick. It was mostly just discussion along on each item. Okay, any other final comments on the, well, actually, we're gonna go to the forms. We didn't get to E. We were just finishing up on D, correct? So we wanna go to the final review of the updates to the Erie, official use forms.
Yes.
Historic nomination form, certificate of appropriateness.
This should be quick, Dave.
Yeah,
This is sort of like a re-review. So I watched the replay of the August HRC meeting and took notes and made changes. There were extremely minor commas where a period should go, etc. Very minor clerical changes required, but one commissioner had identified that, so I made an effort to correct those. So that's that 6-page document. I'll start at the beginning. So page 1, so this is the historic resource nomination forms, page 1 of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the content hasn't changed in that document since the August meeting. And then the second form that got also minor edits, I think it might have been a matching of text styles because they were created in 2 different applications. So that this got updated with minor updates. So it's sort of just a minor review of those things. So just sort of like a final approval.
but the layout is clean. We talked about the layout and the logo and stuff. It looks nice.
The only form not present is the application for the certificate of appropriateness, and that's because I'm waiting to hear back on the collection of the fees from a couple of different individuals and how that's going to work. So by October, I would imagine that form will be just reviewed for discussion, such that we can use it and apply it. So.
right. So, like, right now, what would occur right now if someone had to want to make a change?
To the forms?
Yeah, no, say someone wanted to submit for certificate of appropriateness for a,
How would they get the form and how would they do it?
yeah,
I would probably send them what was existing.
okay. So we just go with currently what we have and just work through it with them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just trying to think out loud
That's-
because I know it's gonna
And
happen.
that's the way that, with our next item of new business, that's the way that this next one went through, since
Okay.
the form wasn't ready from prior staff or from me yet.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's a good question.
okay. So Heather, those forms, so they're wrapping up and there's no further input needed from the commissioners? We're good to go then?
As I recall from last month, there was a vote, and it was approved that they would pass given minor changes, and I made those changes.
Okay.
So just sort of more of like a reminder, hey, we voted on this, we looked at this in August. And if I'm incorrect on that, please remind me, because I wasn't here at the August meeting, but I think it was voted that they were approved.
I believe so.
The only one that wouldn't have been would be the certificate of appropriateness. That wasn't reviewed. So that'll be next month.
Okay, sounds good. Any comments or questions about that?
Did we get any feedback from city council at all when we put that initial stuff out? Because ultimately it has to go to city council. When we put that
Me
initial.
for the initial form?
Yeah, we put the initial form out and kind of talked about it, and it was online, and, it was public, and, we did mention it at the mayor's. I just didn't know if we got any feedback, because in the long run, that's where it needs to go.
I'll circle back on that, Mark.
I just didn't know if you heard anything back. I mean, just asking.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
I'll ask Jackie too.
What?
She might have heard something that didn't, that I didn't hear.
Because we'd hate to get close to it and then all of a sudden have a bunch of input that
More.
we could have dealt with earlier.
I didn't ever heard of it. We as a commission can approve on behalf of the city because we're a city-approved
Okay,
commission.
No need to.
that's
Any
fine.
kind
I
of
just,
form, if it were like a budget change or ordinance, something like that's different, but you have.
because in the long run, there is an ordinance change. Correct? Yeah, so in the long run, there is an ordinance change. Well, in the long run, there would be an ordinance change on some properties, and we would need city council approval.
Oh, yes.
I just didn't know if we got any feedback on that level.
I see what you're saying.
Designations, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think he's saying now that, the
Yeah.
designation.
I mean, there,
I'll
They seem to be a
circle
good partnership. I mean, there are partners in this ultimately.
back. I'll circle back.
but how they would, the city council would approve the fees, that's what you were just noting. There was some work studied on the fees, and they would need to approve the fee.
Yes,
Okay.
so for that application, that application for the certificate of appropriateness, that does have a fee structure associated with it. City council would need to approve that. I'm formalizing the steps as to who that goes to and what the fee structure is, because what's currently in the document doesn't seem like it would meet the needs of what the city has. So yes, in that sense, Mark, that
Yeah,
would
it
need
has
to
to
be
have to go.
approved, especially the fees portion of it. And then for future nominations, those would go through the process just like normal, from us to planning to city council, just like the courthouse did in PACA and so forth.
Okay? Sound good?
Just asking.
Well, that's it for the old business. We'll go to new business. In the first item, 5A, is application received for nomination of Erie Day School as an historic site. And Heather, you said we have a speaker today.
So we have Christina Caton from the Erie Day School, and Christina's here to answer any questions. I think that it's my recommendation that the commission go through the application, and then if there's questions that staff can't answer, she is here as a representative of the school.
Was that at the end of the meeting minutes? Was that in the agenda?
Are you going to do the presentation? So I'll let Christina talk in just a minute. So Christina is submitting on behalf of Erie Day School, and she arrived at the decision of applying for the site as site, not just a building or a few buildings, because collectively their mission was formulated in a really unique manner, and maybe she can speak, I know she can speak better to this than I can. And so maybe as I go through the slides physically and click through them, maybe if there's something you want to articulate, and if the HRC commissioners have any questions about the application, maybe that's kind of how we can go through this.
Sounds good.
I just want to add, I'm not necessarily a historian, but I am a grant and application writer, and I certainly learned a lot through this process, so I hope that I can answer any questions you might have.
Sounds good, no problem at all. Thank you for being here.
Dave, I don't have a mic, but I can click through this.
Okay. I'm trying to find the first application here. Oh, here, I found them, sorry. I'm just trying to have the right one in front of me. So with the application, it's the second sheet or the first?
Third.
Do you want to start with the first?
Yep.
So with this historic nomination form, Erie Day School has all the address information. I'm just kind of going down it. I know it's all the standard boilerplate information first. It's a is it one building, Christina? One building, it says the site, one building is the school only? Because I know, isn't there several buildings on campus?
There are several buildings, but they're all connected.
Okay, they're all connected. So it's really all those together, but it's considered the school as well, okay.
Originally, we were considering applying as just one of the main structures, and then realized that collectively, the site and the whole campus really met the criteria in a better way than just one single building. So I think that line was left on from the original application.
Okay.
It did go through a modification based on some staff input.
And this sort of integrity, I know you have the attached PDF document. I don't think we have to read the whole thing unless you want to just give highlights of that, of your description.
Sure. I think the historic integrity of the school really stems from where the land came from. It was donated to Erie Day School by, see, now I've learned all these historic names and I'm going to crisscross them all. But it was donated to us by Charles Strong, and it was part of the Somewhere property, which was his family camp, essentially. It was a farm. It included the Erie Day School land, where LECOM sits now behind our campus, the area where the Baldwin homes are, and Strong Vincent High School. So our school, he donated this land and seed money to some families to start the school. I do have some pictures included of the original building of his camp on the Somewhere property. And actually today at Erie Day School, we have a sign in the ground in that area designating that that was the spot. And then, of course, the site borders up against the historic Frontier property that ties to some of the original Erie families as well.
So they all used to be one large property. It was all connected by the prior map, and then it was now they've been developed, the lots in between.
So is it just your campus that we're?
Yes, we're just
Okay.
looking at our campus.
Okay.
So this had come about for years. The school has been talking about seeking a historic designation, and I believe in the past a lot of that has been looked at on the national level, which gets to be quite wieldy and rather expensive. So, that process had kind of been in the works. Well, when I came into the school a year and a half ago, I looked at the state level if that might be a better spot to start. And I found out they're actually not issuing historic designations at the state level right now because they don't have the material to make the signs. So I reached out to the city to see what opportunities we might have outside of that. And this is really the best fit for us to get started too.
Well, it's a start. You could probably ultimately get all three.
We could. Yes, that's one of the things I found with the application. Our history is so deep, and our archives are as well. I was up to my elbows in blueprints. So there is, even more to it than what I have here, but I tried to really narrow it and give you the most important pieces for the city of Erie.
Christina, could you go through the timeline? Was it 1929 that the first building had?
1929.
Can you talk about a little bit of like that type of education? that this
Sure.
school-
So when the school first got started, it was two mothers that came together. They were kind of prompted to get this started by a number of prominent families in the community. And they were families that they didn't necessarily want the public education, and they didn't necessarily want a Catholic education. So they looked at this independent school model that's really based off of transcendentalism. So the school developed keeping the kids in touch with nature, a lot of hands-on projects, travel off campus when possible, and still today that is heavily threaded through our curriculum. We value a lot of our middle school trips outside of Pennsylvania. A lot of our students participate in international trips when we can pull those together. But even our littlest learners that are 2 years old make their way to the farm to pet the animals. So it's very important to our board of trustees and to our families at the school that we don't lose our connection with the base philosophy of the school.
Thank you.
Heather, is there anything, I've looked at the application twice now, is there anything missing or any questions you have administratively, or is it all there?
Christina and I worked through some of my initial questions that I had about it. We talked about how the nomination was stronger as a site than any one particular building, because like she articulated, the vision was for children to have many experiences and to be a part of active learning in a way that traditional education was not directed at that time. So in that sense, we made the shift to designating, or the recommendation for the designation of site as a whole. The site has a lot of strong structures. This one at the top, I believe that's the original building from 1929. And when I drove by it like a month ago, I mean, it's really well maintained, it's clean. You can see where there's been, some updates, like some window changes and things like that. Maybe, I think I see like a dual pane window on the right and that sort of thing. But overall, I think aesthetically and architecturally, it's really strong for being almost 100 years old. I think they've been very good stewards and caretakers of the structures and the site as a whole, especially, given how in demand that section of Erie is. They've been very good stewards of keeping the site a true site and not kind of breaking it off piece by piece.
If I might add, inside that original building, one of those classrooms houses preschool students, and it has the original fireplace that's still perfectly intact in that classroom.
What happened to the cabin of somewhere?
That had been, so when the land was originally donated, I think the cabin still was intact on the one end. If you're familiar with the school campus, I think it's where the gazebo is. But then it must have over time just gotten torn down or dilapidated.
It was replaced with a single-family home, and there are still remnants of the kind of rusticated stone fence that still exist.
Oh,
So,
it's still there?
parts of it are.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're still part of the foundation of the house?
The stone fence, it's not all in its entirety, but there are still kind of bits and pieces of it that are tucked away.
Directly behind the soccer fields, yes.
Yes, exactly that.
So that's where it was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well,
That's neat.
And kind of jumping from like built form to like recognition, it should be noted that Erie Day School, it had received like top ratings from the State of Pennsylvania Association of Private Schools, marking its recognition as a school of excellence as far back as like 1949. So in the collective history of U.S. education, that's a long time ago that they were, already being recognized so early on. And so I think that speaks volumes for the quality of education.
I'd like to
Any
say
commissioner?
that, I have a personal connection to the day school, so I want to make sure that's out there. I adore the day school, but both of my daughters graduated from the Erie Day School. My lovely wife graduated from the Erie Day School. My lovely mother-in-law taught at the Erie Day School. So I do have a long connection to the day school, and I hope that I'm well aware of their history and their history of excellence. But I wanted to make sure that there wasn't a conflict of interest at all.
No conflict.
I don't think there is, because it's been a minute.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to put it out there that I didn't want to have it come up later that I am connected to the school. I do fundraise an auction for them once in a while. So I'm still connected to the school because I still believe in its mission.
That's great. That's great. Any other commissioners' comments, cautions regarding this application?
I will also admit that my children did summer camp at Erie Day.
Yeah.
So that's what it's disclosing. So
right.
I'm very familiar with it, but also to the applicant, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
It is such an exceptional piece of Erie's history, and there's so many different wonderful historical narratives that tie into the school itself that, the school existed before it was brought into the city of Erie. The piece about transcendentalism is exceptional, and it really ties into the architecture. I know that one of the things that always struck me was how kind of discrete the buildings are, and it's very obvious that they're discrete because they're not meant to overshadow all the lush greenery. And the Strong family ties to Frontier Park and to the Frontier housing plan immediately next to Erie Day. So there's so many rich kind of threads to pull at. I think the nomination is really strong and successful in that it summarizes kind of all of those different threads and where they are without going into a tremendous amount of depth. Frankly, you could write a book.
Right. I would say one more thing to Matthew's point is that they were early proponents of Montessori, and that is directly connected to their mission. And even to that point, my mother-in-law knew Maria Montessori, and when she came, she brought that also, that level of, how would you call it, thick learning, where it's all connected learning. And I know that she was doing that long before this type of modern, well, I don't call it modern, but holistic learning was really in vogue. The Erie Day School was way ahead of the curve.
And it really it emphasizes how complex of a history education in the city and outside of the city has been over the years. I am very comfortable moving this forward.
Yeah, and an alternative between parochial and public. This is a private, but public, situation. So it offers this third way that I think is also, again, indicative of the Erie Day School's incredible perspective of children and family and education, and where all those Venn diagrams interconnect.
Well, they have quite a few
have
scholarships, too. They have a lot of children at that school that are being
Absolutely.
Free.
Yes. No doubt.
And that is one of the things I did note in the application. Over the years, transcendentalism and some of the philosophies have received criticism in different areas because of accessibility, but we are very dedicated to diversity within our student base, and we do offer a lot of scholarships in financial aid. So you'll see that while we stay very strong and true to our roots, we do, take note where we need to make adaptations.
Isn't Hayes Moses is a graduate? So Hayes Moses is a graduate. When we talk diversification, and now he is starring at the Erie Playhouse as the next opening of Shawshank Redemption. He has the starring role.
Yes.
So they are in the fabric of this community.
We currently have
inextricably.
25 different countries represented in the school.
Wow, that's great.
I will also say to your earlier testimony, one of the other hats I wear is with the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission. So I sit on the States Commission. We've recently started issuing historic signs again. So
Okay.
So he'll work on that.
the application process will resume this later on in this fall.
Okay.
And so I can make sure that you have that information. And you're absolutely right. The prospect of listing something in the National Register is can be really daunting. But there's some avenues there as well that you might want to explore. So
Okay.
I'll make sure that you can you get connected with the right
Perfect.
folks. And in listing things with the state's historic register and the National Register are one and the same. There are
okay.
some states that have their own, and years ago Pennsylvania decided to just unify. So there you are.
Wonderful. And then I just wanted to show very quickly, as I was digging through boxes of archives, I did find the listing. This is the original class of Erie Day School, the very first class when it started. So you can see it was pieced together from some handwritten notes.
What year was that again?
This was in 1929.
Okay.
And there is a gentleman on here, he just passed away this summer. And he was in the original class. of
Who was
the
that?
school. Don Leslie.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
Oh, from Hammermill paper? Don?
I
Is that Don
believe
Leslie?
so.
Can you read the names?
Yeah, I was like, is there a Weber on that list at all, or?
Some of the names are familiar. Let's see, I'll read the last names. We have Beacon, Ferrero, Hurt, Kubler, Leslie, Nick, a few Shanks, Sisson, Strubler, Reel, Ransom, Treadway, Griswold, Gordon, Fisher.
A lot of Erie families.
How exceptional.
That's fun. That's really
That's all the
fun.
founding of the Erie Civic Valley Company.
Would you mind going back to the original cover page that lists the criteria, so we can line ourselves up for a motion? Thank you. Actually, yeah, that's it. Thank you for that.
Can I chime in? Actually, I'll chime in afterwards.
Okay, so we need to do then two motions today. One is to officially accept the nomination and find that it satiates one of our criteria for historic designation. So with that, I would move that we formally accept the nomination for the Erie Day School, and with the caveat that it meets criteria A of our historic significance.
I'd be happy to
Second.
second that.
Mark
yeah.
Tannenbaum, second.
Absolutely.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. I don't hear any. Those in favor have it, so it passes.
And the second motion that we need to make then is that we formally make a recommendation to city planning and to city council for the listing of the Erie Day School in Erie's Register of Historic Places. So on that, I so move.
I'll
Do we have a
second
second?
again. I'll
Another
second again.
second from
Happy
Mark
to. Yep.
Tannenbaum. Those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Congratulations.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for such a detailed application. It was great to see the graphics. You know, we were just kind of asking questions based on that instead of looking for more. So thank you so much for,
You're
I know it was a
welcome.
lot of work too, so thank you.
It was very good for me though, because I feel
You learned a lot.
more versed. Yes, I did. I learned a lot, and I had the ability to organize a little bit. It's been well along the way.
Thank you so much.
And Christina, it might be something in the future where forthcoming applicants ask you as a representative of the school about this process of the HRC. And this kind of circles back to what we were discussing earlier,
Yeah.
where since you've been through the process, you know, I think that all of us would very much appreciate any, you know, words of, assistance or encouragement to future applicants, and then the ability, obviously, to like refer them to
Sure,
the,
absolutely.
staff.
So my home happens to turn 100 years old next year. So now that I've been through this once, maybe I'll take a look and see what I have there.
There you
too.
go. Thank you, Christina, for
Great,
being
thank you
here.
so
and
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last item on our agenda for new business. Are there any other items to discuss by any one of the commission members?
I just wondered with our training, is the option of coming here and doing it in your office an option, or
We could certainly talk about that.
okay, but I
I
just
can
didn't-
email you.
And this is Friday, this is Friday? right?
It's this Friday. Yep, just to circle back, it is this Friday. And it's from 12 sharp, 12 to 4:45. So there's 4 training sessions. Watch for an email link from me this week.
Well, I can't. I have an appointment at 4, but I could be so there's 4 sessions, so I could do 3.
That'll be fine. And then
Okay.
you can video
Okay.
watch the 4th one at a later time with that same link. There's 15-minute breaks between each of the 45-minute sessions. So 12 to 12:45, then 1 to 1:45, so on.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any other items to discuss? Are we done? Any other questions, Tom?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, second? Do we have a second?
Sure.
Those in favor, say aye.
My day today,
Those
my day to second
opposed?
things.
Hearing none, the ayes have it. Adjourned.
Sure.